Why has China insisted on a cold, strict non-alignment policy for so many years? Today, I want to talk about this question with you, starting from what's been happening recently in Iran. Over the past period of time, Iran has erupted into nationwide unrest. This is not a small protest. This is unrest on the scale of nationwide strikes and shutdowns. It has spread across 21 provinces and more than 30 cities. Protesters have burned police vehicles, stormed government buildings, and even exchanged gunfire with Iranian security forces. So far, the death toll has reached 35 people. As for how serious the situation is, Iran's president has publicly stated that the country has entered a state of war. Iran's turmoil has made the United States and Israel openly delighted. US President Donald Trump stated that the Iranian protesters are peaceful and righteous. He said the United States supports the MOND promises to protect their right to protest. He even warned that if the Iranian government dares to crack down on them, the Udaristan military would personally rescue them. The US State Department went even further, using its Persian language account to declare, "We stand with the Iranian people." Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also made a public statement, saying, Israel sympathizes with the protesters and supports the Iranian people's struggle for freedom, justice, and dignity. Iran is at a historic moment, and the Iranian people are taking their destiny into their own hands. At the same time, the contemporary crown prince of Iran's Pahlavi dynasty, who has lived in exile in the United States for decades, posted a statement urging Iranians to bravely take to the streets. He said he fully supports the protests, and even claimed that if Iranians support him in restoring monarchical rule, he could help Iran lift U.S. sanctions. But this wave of unrest in Iran was not directly created by the United States or Israel. The root of the problem lies within Iran itself. The US and Israel merely saw an opportunity and poured fuel on the fire. The reason is simple. The people who took to the streets are genuinely, deeply dissatisfied. The evidence is clear. They didn't just attack the Iranian government. They also openly expressed nostalgia for Iran's former hardline anti-U.S. figures. Late at night on January 2nd, a striking event took place in Iran. Tens of thousands of people walked on foot to the city of Kerman to mourn at the tomb of Qasem Soleimani. Who was Soleimani? He was the founder of the so-called Axis of Resistance, the commander of the IRGC's Quds Force, and the most symbolically powerful anti-U.S. figure in Iran. He was assassinated on Trump's orders near Baghdad International Airport in Iraq. Looking at the chaotic demands and actions of the protesters, it's clear they do not share a unified political direction. Some are pro-American, others are fiercely anti-American, but they share one thing in common. They are extremely dissatisfied with the status quo and desperate for change. To be fair, this dissatisfaction isn't entirely unjustified. In 2025, Iran's own official data put inflation at a staggering 42.3%. In just 1 year. At the beginning of 2025, the exchange rate was 800,000 rials to $1. By the end of the year, it had collapsed to 1,447,000 rials per dollar. During the same period, food prices rose by 72.5%. There used to be a saying in Iran, when bread costs 500,000, white phosphorus fills the sky. Today, a single hamburger in Iran can sell for 2.5 million rials, which means that bread selling for 500,000 is no longer a metaphor, it's reality. Iran hasn't even formally entered a war. So how did its economy collapse so badly, so fast? The answer is this. Iran firmly believed that China needed Iran, and therefore China must give Iran money. But China didn't. So Iran decided it needed to demonstrate its so-called strategic value to force China to pay. In September 2024, Iran's chief of the general staff visited China to attend the 11th Beijing Xiangshan Forum. In an interview, he stated clearly, "We and other regional countries can ensure regional security ourselves. There is no need for countries from far away to intervene." Also in 2024, Iran was on the verge of finalizing a deal to purchase China's J-10 fighter jets. At the last moment, Iran abruptly cancelled the deal and instead bought Russia's Su-35. In January 2025, Iran unilaterally tore up a contract and demanded to take back 25 million barrels of crude oil that had been stored at Dalian port since 2018. At the same time, Iran refused to pay $450 million in storage fees. Its demand was simple: not a single dollar paid, all the oil taken away. Iran even claimed that China was obligated to barrel storage and logistics costs. On May 7, 2025, India and Pakistan engaged in an aerial clash. Pakistan used Chinese J-10 fighters and, despite being outnumbered, defeated India's Air Force and what became known as a 6-0 shutout. Just 2 days later, on May 9th, the Iranian and Indian foreign ministers signed yet the Iran-India all-weather strategic partnership agreement. Iran chose India for one reason only. India planned to import 15 million tons of Iranian oil over the next 5 years. But a plan is just a plan. In June 2025, Israel launched attacks on Iran. As fellow members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, China not only signed the joint statement supporting Iran, China led it. India, however, refused to sign. In August 2025, Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei stated at a cabinet meeting that Iran must reduce its dependence on a single buyer of oil. Iranian media went even further, openly claiming 92% of Iran's oil is sold to China at extremely low prices. Iran made its position clear. It did not want to sell nearly all its oil to China. But the problem was, after cutting China out, Iran found no other buyer willing to buy. India had plans, but those plans never materialized. The result: in the first 11 months of 2025, Iran's exports to China fell by 48%, imports fell by 26%. Foreign exchange dried up, goods became scarce. But Iran had no money to import anything. In December, Iran plunged into an economic crisis and nationwide unrest followed. China did nothing dramatic. When Iran clearly said, "We no longer want to sell oil to China," China simply replied, "Fine, we won't force you, that's it." Iran never asked itself, why was 92% of its oil bought by China in the first place? Was China forcing it? Don't confuse cause and effect. In fact, China had once planned to purchase unlimited amounts of Iranian oil and genuinely help Iran stand back up. In March 2021, China and Iran signed a 25-year comprehensive cooperation agreement, planning $400 billion in Chinese investment across energy, infrastructure, and telecommunications. Of that, $280 billion was designated for a major oil pipeline running from the Caucasus through Iran and Pakistan and ultimately to Kashgar. But just 3 months later, a document that should have been top secret was leaked by Iranian media and then widely circulated by global outlets. What was the message? Iran wanted the US to make an offer to, and not quietly, but by coming to Iran and begging. The result: the US ignored Iran completely. China froze the agreement. To this day, not a single dollar has been implemented. In the years that followed, Iran's attitude toward China remained the same: you must give me more money, beyond fair trade, and you must give it voluntarily or I'll cause trouble. The outcome is now obvious. China has long adhered to a strict policy of non-alignment. Extremely strict, extremely cold. Zero allies. Even with North Korea, China only guarantees one thing: its survival. In the event of an existential crisis, purely to protect China's own security. In normal circumstances, China does not station troops in North Korea. does not supply weapons, and maintains only limited political and economic engagement. China's involvement is minimal, so minimal that it resembles a relationship of restrained distance. That is why North Korea places almost no burden on China. This is fundamentally different from the deeply entangled alliance system of the US and Europe. The so-called China-Russia-Iran Grand Triangle, once heavily hyped in online media, was never recognized by China, never advanced in practice. Reducing alliances is sensible, but having none at all isn't that a bit extreme? Wouldn't more allies be better? China's stance is clear. For countries that are truly strong, independent, and capable of fighting for their own destiny, China respects them and does not rule out alliances. But look around the world now, what do you see? How many countries actually meet that standard? An alliance must benefit China to have value. The reality is harsh. On this planet, almost every alliance China could form will be a net loss. Iran is the clearest example. After all these moves, do you really think it qualifies as China's ally? Fortunately, it never became one. Otherwise, China might already owe Iran $500 billion, plus 50 divisions. Now look at Russia. Russia is far stronger than Iran. In terms of national will and strategic thinking, it surpasses most countries on Earth. But compared to China, it still isn't in the same league. Economically and militarily, Russia is only a fraction of China. And even Russia's greatest strength, strategic judgment, relies heavily on one man, Vladimir Putin. That may not be sustainable. Even Putin himself is not on the same level as China. In 2019, the second year of the US-China trade war, at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, a reporter asked Putin how Russia viewed the trade conflict. Putin smiled and said, "A wise monkey sits on the mountain watching the other animals fight." In Chinese, that means, sit back and reap the benefits. Russia was happy, and frankly, there's nothing wrong with that logic. It's good political thinking. What's more interesting is that China wasn't offended at all. Instead, China helped Russia smooth things over. At the Foreign Ministry press briefing, China's spokesperson explained that Putin had also said everything is changing, criticized US protectionism, and emphasized that China and Russia oppose unilateralism together. China fully protected the relationship. But in 2022, who cracked first was forced onto the battlefield and ended up bleeding with the West while others watched from the sidelines. Russia. China's position. Neutrality calls for peace. And selling civilian goods on the side. To be fair, Russia's strategy isn't bad. It's far stronger than Iran, stronger than most countries. But compared to China, it's still an entire dimension behind. Russia itself may not even understand how it went from watching from the mountain to standing on the front line apparently by choice. No one forced Russia. The US imposed the sanctions. NATO expanded eastward. Russia chose war. China opposed it and urged restraint. That's the reality. And once again, thankfully, China never formed an alliance with Russia. Otherwise, wouldn't China now owe money and troops all over again? If even Russia is like this, what value is there in allying with countries far weaker than Russia or even weaker than Iran? Helping is fine, but only through fair, equal transactions, free money. Never. Many countries fantasize that if they do nothing, the US will fight China, so China must pay them for standing in. But the US logic is simple. If I can't beat China, why can't I beat you? Not hitting you yet doesn't mean I won't. And hitting China though isn't exclude hitting you. China's logic is simpler. We are prepared to face the world alone. No allies, no proxies. China's history is one of unification. Its history books celebrate very few alliances but record countless betrayals. From the warring states, to the Three Kingdoms, to the warlord era, alliances failed again and again. So China learned its lesson. All alliances are temporary. When conditions change, they collapse. If alliances are temporary, they're no different from transactions. And when there is no existential threat, transactions are fine, alliances are not. Europe's history is shorter. It never experienced true unification, never suffered deeply from betrayal. So it built countless alliances. Now conditions shift slightly, and infighting begins immediately. The Eurozone has many allies, but how does Trump describe them? Even the EU, Japan, and South Korea top-tier powers become liabilities in alliance systems. When the US is strong, it could absorb the cost. Now that decline is visible, it seeks distance. Before any real war begins, they're already fighting over money. So what use of those alliance lives are actually at stake? In the end, low-quality alliance are worse than none at all. High-quality solitude is better than low-quality unity.